Really, what is a very interesting first bout of the night in terms of like the main card, and Mike Perry versus D-Rod, Daniel Rodriguez, man. So we got a welterweight matchup once again, and this is interesting. And I want your thoughts off the bat, AJ. Do you think that Mike Perry, who is a substantial underdog right now, actually, see, I told you it was a slow week. They don't even have the odds up on ESPN right now. It's okay, but he's a pretty substantial underdog in this fight. I want to know, do you think that's because the odds makers are taking too much of the periphery of him as an athlete into account, being that he hasn't necessarily had a very stable foundation or a camp or a team in the last couple fights? He's been pretty crazy on social media, going back and forth with Darren Till, doing all of this, and sitting there doing pad work on his baby mama's booty. You know what I'm saying? Pink gloves and all that, man. So my thought is this, because I'm obviously asking you this question, but my thought is the odds makers aren't taking him serious in terms of his skill, and they're looking too much on the outside. Give me some impressions.
I mean, I think unfortunately they have to, right? I mean, that's all we've kind of seen from Mike Perry. I mean, he lost to Tim Means, but that was a while ago as well. Other than that, he's not really doing much. Once he got the armbar from Donald Cerrone, that was kind of the up and down of Mike Perry. That's where we started to see the kind of the losses start to really pile up, and then he started to lose media attention. So I think that's, unfortunately, he's going to be the underdog because of all the antics on the outside, because that's kind of what we remember when we think of Mike Perry. I know back in the day, 2 or 3 years ago, we were thinking this dude's coming for your head, full pressure. It's going to be a very exciting fight, but throughout his wins and losses, it started to kind of peter a little bit and again lose attention. So I think they're kind of put in a corner to have to do that. So it makes sense to me why he's the underdog. But if you go back and look at his fights, man, his style doesn't really make him. This one could be a coin toss. I'd be surprised if we're going to see any actual up and down. So
that's it right there. I really believe this fight is so much more of a pick'em than it is D-Rod just being favored. So we got to take this in consideration. Daniel Rodriguez, man, the name, I always get hyped up on the name, right? He's 13-2, 3-1 in UFC, but this dude's coming off a loss too, right? So it's like, what makes him such a substantial favorite? Now, Nicholas Dalby, who he just lost to, is very much a Wonder Boy type striker, a karate striker. So maybe he's saying, okay, well, Mike Perry is not the in and out movement like that. He's looking to brawl and to take your head off. And, we could really like Daniel Rodriguez in one of those fights, in a dog fight, right? Because he is an absolute dog. He reminds me a lot of Brian Ortega, just in the sense of where, they come from the streets, man. These dudes is like really game and really down to make it happen, regardless of the martial arts that, is a part of it. And similar to Brian Ortega, Daniel Rodriguez was winning pro fights in UFC, fighting, training out of his garage, just like Brian Ortega. So, it's just a nice little backstory that I like. But ultimately, the question becomes this, man. Mike Perry, what's his best path to victory? Because for me, it's going to be something surprising, and it might take you by surprise, but it's implementing the same strategy that he did against Tim Means. Even though he lost the fight, he had Tim Means in real trouble in the first 2 minutes of the fight. He took Tim Means down, took his back, and almost had a rear naked choke sunk in. Now, I think that he is going to do what he normally does, right, AJ? He's probably going to try to brawl Daniel Rodriguez, but if Daniel Rodriguez is a little too nice with the hands, that southpaw, you know what I'm saying? I could see Mike Perry turning into a wrestler. What do you think?
I mean, I could definitely see that, Derek. And my big thing, so when I was thinking of this fight and I was lining up the X's and O's, you think it's two scrappers versus, a scrapper versus scrapper, but it's going to be a banger. This is going to be a barn burner of a match. But Daniel Rodriguez is exactly that. A little more slick to me, a little more proficient, a little more technically strong, where Mike Perry has gotten away from what made him successful, gotten away from, like I was talking about, that vicious mentality if he's just going to go for your head from the jump. So if we see Mike Perry, I think, get back to that mentality, kind of take Daniel Rodriguez by storm, full pressure, just overwhelm him really, and then work for the ground and pound, position over submission, work to actually hurt him and get the finish. I think that sounds like a good path to Mike Perry, for Mike Perry, especially if he does implement a little more wrestling oriented. He's heavy on the top pressure, does something that we haven't seen in quite a while, because I know he's been, like I said, hasn't had any good matches in a while. He's been getting kind of dominated really. So
Well, like I said, you got to give him a little bit of credit in the Tim Means fight. He had a little bit of success. He didn't, get straight destroyed in that fight, right? But I do think he missed. I think he missed weight for that fight, right? That's where he dabbed and was like, "Yeah, I'm like 5 pounds overweight, whatever." So what I wanted to say by that is he's a big welterweight. It's not like he's a small guy. So that top control definitely could do something. But you're right, Daniel Rodriguez is much more of a slickster, much more of a technical striker. And what's interesting to me is that Mike Perry fought Tim Means completely southpaw in his last fight, even though he's listed as an orthodox fighter. So it made me question, well, why did you do that? You know what I mean? Did you think that there was maybe you got an advantage out of that? Maybe. But if he's so comfortable in being ambidextrous and being able to fight either side or whatever, it could play into a little bit of an advantage versus D-Rod. Now, here's what my final thoughts are for this matchup. Daniel Rodriguez has been actually talking. He posted up this video of when he got the call that he was getting this fight, and he had been looking for this fight for a long time. So this tells me Daniel Rodriguez is game, and he's absolutely ready for the matchup. Now, my thought process, even though who do I know? It's not like I'm over here having conversations with Mike Perry, but I feel like Mike Perry is going to come into this one with the mentality of, oh, I'm just going to take your lunch money. You know, I'm just going to come get the job done, drop some big bombs on you. You know what I'm saying? And go back and, you know what I'm saying? Drink some Mai Tais. That's his big thing. He likes to celebrate with Mai Tais. You feel me? So I guess what it comes down to is the final conclusion, AJ. Mike Perry got 11 knockouts, 3 decisions. That's his methodologies of winning. So either he's knocking you out or it's going to points. Daniel Rodriguez, 7 knockouts, 4 submissions, 2 decisions. He's a little more well-balanced. Who are you going with? Why? And how do you see this fight playing out? Obviously, give me some methodology. What round? What do you think?
So I personally, man, I think my match is going to be absolutely insane. I think it's going to take a while to start, but then it's really going to start, get going. Start swing. They're going to be swinging. It's going to be a dogfight, man. I'm expecting Mike Perry to do exactly that. Get back to his roots. Kind of get back into that savage mentality. His homie Darren Till isn't fighting, so he's got to represent now. So I don't know, man. Maybe we'll see that. We'll see maybe a little heavier oriented on the wrestling, but I'm expecting this to be a banger with Daniel Rodriguez kind of playing a little bit of a counterattack, letting the things come and still striking out, standing on his feet, going to the middle of the octagon when he can. But like I said, I'm expecting it to take a little bit to while, like a first round to start feeling each other out. But I got Rodriguez KO round 2. Kind of going to end it on the feet. Kind of crazy. I'm expecting something super cool. Who you got?
Okay, well, see, starting off the matchup well, because I'm disagreeing here. I do not see any way Daniel Rodriguez is going to knock out Mike Perry, because Mike Perry, first and foremost, has only been knocked out once in his entire career. This dude is the definition of durable, the definition of having a chin, right? So I think if anything, if a Daniel Rodriguez does win, I think it has to be by decision or submission, in my opinion personally. But I'm still going Mike Perry, and the reason why is because, like I said, I think that too many people are looking at the outside and not looking at the X's and O's of, listen, man, when you're a professional fighter, when you're high level in terms of like the level of Mike Perry, now is he got the best record? No, but we know he can fight. We truly know he can fight. And he said it himself. He's like, man, I don't need y'all to tell me what to do. Just need to step in there and I can go handle business. I know how to fight. I know how to punch someone in the face. So I'm going Mike Perry. Depending on how serious he takes it, I don't know. It may come back to burn me a little bit, but I'm going Mike Perry with a knockout round 3. I think this is going to be a war, and this has got fight of the night written all over it.